We're recording. Hello, everybody. Good evening. So, something I want to start with before I talk about the inviting, because I think a huge part of that is, what was the quote that I heard today that I wanted to start us with? So you cannot give what you don't have. And I think that that's a really important quote, and I really love that. And I'm actually going to write it on my whiteboard right behind that, that I'm looking at right now above you guys. So you cannot give what you don't have. And I think it's important for inviting to, again, talk about personal development. And it's something I was talking with some of the leaders of Synergy with on a call this morning. And discussing the importance of it, but also we're told to do personal development and to listen to podcasts, to read books, to do this, to do that, and to watch trainings. And it's so much to take in. It's not possible to, even if this was your only focus, your full-time job, you can't possibly implement everything you're learning from all of that personal development to implement it to be successful. So my new focus recently, and I feel like it's been really helpful, and I would encourage all of you to adopt it as well, is to focus on one thing. So I took one book, The Happiness Project. I focused on that. I took things from that book and I wrote it down that I wanted to implement this week. I've talked to some of my new coaches about, okay, now we're going to start talking about what you're going to implement this week in your business from these trainings, because just watching them is not enough. I mean, you can have all the personal development in the world, but if you don't implement any of that, it doesn't matter. You have this arsenal of great stuff in your mind, and that's where it stays. So implementation is very important. And I was listening right now. So I just started with Darla, if anybody wants to join us, The Miracle Morning for Network Marketers. And that was a quote. I'm listening to it on Audible as well. And that was a quote in there, and I really, really love it. So I want to continue to stress the importance of personal development because it will definitely come out in our inviting as well. I think it's very crucial in all aspects, but definitely even in the very beginning when you're inviting someone and they're getting to know you, you want to have that arsenal in you. And, coaching can take a lot out of you. And so you want to give to yourself first, so that you can send those invites and continue to do it with that fire in your belly and that fire under your butt, So I wanted to start with that as something that I was discussing with one of our leaders, like I said. So the 5-3-2 inviting system was something that was initially announced or taught by either Lindsay Matway or Lindsay Stay. I don't quite remember which one. I'm sure if you look back at their YouTube videos, you could probably find it. But I want to, keep in mind when you're inviting, because, I remember when I started inviting, I felt like I was selling a product, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't go into sales because I hate sales, and I hate getting random messages from people I don't know. And we've all done that. We've all, in the beginning of our businesses, we've all done that. And we've also all had that happen to us, whether it's, well, never mind. I'm not even going to name companies. So remember your purpose: to serve others, to help others, and to put people first. And then, of course, your bigger why to help others, not just your personal why, whether it's financial freedom from this or that, but, your why to help others, because your heart needs to come first. And you keep in mind that you invest daily in people and not just sending mass messages at the end of the month, because I've done that and it ends up coming off as salesy. I've read some of the messages that I used to send when I first started coaching, and I'm like, oh, honey, oh God. And it's like watching a train wreck, because it really is. It's a train wreck. And that's how you get unfollowed. So, something that I watched I watched a video of Jessica Pisola. If you follow her at all, especially if you're someone who likes faith-based, following coaches that are faith-based. So she said that, she posts 3 times a day. That's what she does. That's her rule. I post 3 times a day. Some people say 5. That can be a lot for some people, especially if a lot of people are still working full-time jobs. So post 3 times a day, and she has 3 topics she covers a day. And it's health, hope, and heart. So the health can be anything from sharing a food recipe to her sweaty selfie to whatever. It's not always just the picture and everything's happy and great with your Shakeology and, everything in your life is perfect. It's anything having to do with health. Hope, and I get the two confused because sometimes, so hope for her is her, her religious base and her faith and her, whether it's excerpts or whatever she's taken from the religious part of her life, which is very big for her. So, and then heart, which is, her family, things, her passions, whatever she is really passionate about, so something that, for example, I should implement is the fact that I scrapbook, because that is something that's, I don't think it's typical for 26-year-olds, first of all, because I'm not 90. So, I would really honestly much rather spend a Saturday night scrapbooking till 1 a.m. than going to a club like a lot of 25, 26-year-olds. But that's important because that's just part of who I am. And that's the only way I can get my artistic side out. So that attracts people that aren't necessarily artistic, but like working with photos and, making memories more permanent, and also the, artistic side of someone else. So it can attract different people if you're sharing, things that are in your heart that you enjoy. So to start with that, then next I'm going to share, did I even grab those? Hold on. Let me screen share. Cause I'm just taking them straight from Jessica's because why reinvent the wheel and redo something that was perfect. Oops. So the photos that she had of this, hold on one sec, guys, bear with me. Okay. Where are they? There we are. Okay. So here is, I just went back into the Facebook group because I don't have them in a, okay. So let me screen share. Alrighty. So here it is. So here is her power hour, her daily inviting system. And again, and I have all these photos. I'll load them up in Synergy Alliance, but she took these from, she said, Lindsay Matt or Lindsay Stain. I remember watching that training video when she did it. So when one of those two women did it. So the 5-3-2 inviting system. So the 5, and I really like how simple this is. And I would love if, for people that have trouble inviting, which I think is a lot of people because it's uncomfortable, this is a great thing to adopt. A lot of coaches have adopted this into their system. So the 5 is for 5 new conversations a day, nothing about Beachbody. And towards the end, someone remind me, I'm going to share a conversation I've had with a couple people about how I've connected with them and how that conversation ended up turning into a conversation about joining my next challenge group in December. So 5 new conversations a day, nothing about Beachbody. The 3 is the 3 challenge group invites a day. And what I love about this is, right there in the writing, it's go back to the people you did 5 to a week or more ago. So that makes it easy. Like if you've discussed something with them before, that's fabulous. And then you go back to those people. So each day, now what I do is I write the date on the top of each week. So then you just flip back and then just put a check mark next to those people you invited. And then that way your weeks don't get away from you, and you're not, 6 months down, like, oh gosh, I want to send this person an invite, but I talked to them 6 months ago, because time flies. So I think that is perfect how it just dumbs it down. Go back to the people you did, a week or so ago, because that's not too much time where they forget about you, and enough time where you're not like, hey, how are you? How's your day? Hey, you want to join my challenge group? So that's the part that I really enjoyed about this. And then the 2 stands for checking in with 2 coaches, and if you don't have that many coaches yet, use the 2 to invite and 2 people to be business coaches on your team. So, and then of course, adding the 3 to 5 friends a day on social media. So I really like that inviting system. I really liked, step 1 and step 2. That's what I wanted to share with you guys, is that. And then of course, like rocking your challenge groups. I want to bring that up too, is making your challenge groups really effective, because if they're not effective, your potential coaches aren't going to get the results they want or get the feeling and the community that we have. They're not going to get that, and they're not going to want to be coaches, because what's special? What about this is great? Because I've had some pretty terrible challenge groups before, and I'm like, I'm not even inspired, and I'm already a coach and I'm running this. Like, I would definitely not want to sign up as a coach based on how this challenge group went this month. So you reevaluate and you implement new stuff. So next was, Jessica had gone over the inviting formula. Again, all of this is taken from either Lindsay Stare or Lindsay Matway. So it's kind of tiny writing. So it says, connect with them. Never just go into a sales pitch unless you want to be a salesperson, because all we're doing is, sharing our story and inviting people to join us. Connect with them about their personal lives. So, I love the pictures of your family. Looks like you guys are doing great. Where are you working these days, etc. And you want to gain someone's trust. And again, towards the end, I'm going to share some conversations I've had this week. And I'm just going to read you guys directly what was said to give you an idea of how I've embedded an invite into getting to know someone so that I don't sound salesy, because that's something I've really focused on, because I hate it. I hate sounding salesy. So number 2, approach acquaintances or people from old connections that you may or may not have had a previous strong connection with the same way. So it's been a long time since high school. So if you go to your friends that you went to high school with, and you look through their friends list of people that you could have gone to high school with, that's where I think you're going to find a lot of people that are your age. So most likely your target market. It's not like I'm going to be looking for people that are, 65 and retire and on their way to retirement, because I don't really identify with them, minus the whole scrapbook thing. So that's, finding people from high school is a great idea. So approach people. So number 3 is approach people you do not know on your personal page. So, add value to mutual friends, or on your like page by also connecting with them about something on their page. So the example that's written on here says, hey girl, how you doing? The pictures from your wedding are amazing. Who did them? You look great. Saw that you like to work out. What workouts are you doing? I see we have kids around the same age. And again, I'll post these, so that you guys can write them down for yourselves. So notice how in those it says, a comment, a compliment, question, and then the conversation ensues. So I find that before I talk to someone, I take a breath and I go, okay, I don't care the outcome of this. I am just happy to hear this person's story. And that is something that was so strong for me this week. And I'm going to share with you at the end why. So then the response formula, and I think a lot of people have heard this before, the feel, felt, found response. So, you say, I feel, I know how you feel, how you felt when you were in that situation. So they know where you're coming from. And then what you found was different. So you guys can read these exact, examples later on after the call. I don't want to waste time doing that, but that is a great, way to connect with someone. And again, take a deep breath, find in your heart what you identify with this person and why did you start conversing with them in the first place, and finding that common ground. And then that was shared from the Beachbody. Okay. So what I want to do is share with you guys. I'm literally going to just look at my phone and share with you guys a conversation that I've had this week, to show you guys how I embedded the invite. So let me scroll. I'm not going to read all her stuff because she literally wrote a book. So I became friends with her. She shared her story about having a surgery next week. And I commented on her thing and I said, oh, what are you having surgery? I'm a nurse, so I'm just naturally curious. If you don't want to mention it, I completely understand. She said, I'm having a hysterectomy. And she said, if you want to hear more of my story, I'll tag you in some of my previous posts that describes my whole story, because I've wanted to share 100% with people before what's going on. I said, I would love that. So I read these posts, and she's 22 and she needs to have a hysterectomy. So after I read it, I said, wow, your story is so inspiring. I feel like I know you so well just from your posts, and you already have kids. Will you be getting a total hysterectomy or a partial? And she typed a lot. So she said, we're going into surgery, preparing for anything. She understands the risks if she has to have a total hysterectomy, because she, would go into menopause at 22. And she discussed, I said, that's so amazing since you have kids, because she does have 2 kids. They were literally apparently miracle babies. It was shocking. The doctors were shocked. I said, it's so amazing you have kids. At least you aren't missing out on motherhood. That would be my biggest concern, of course, especially since you want to be a mom. I said, when did your symptoms start? Did you mention in a previous post you were 12? And then, so she knows that I read the post that she tagged me in, because I read in there that she was 12 years old. She said, yeah, my symptoms started, blah, blah, blah. My mom thought I was crazy, yada, yada, yada. Then, I had been vomiting, like, when I was 16, her mom finally realized, like, this isn't a joke. So I said, I'm so glad you have the proper doctor to help you now. And she mentioned a couple times her husband. I said, how long have you been with your husband? Has he known you through the beginning? She talks about their lives and, how long they've known each other through the pain, how he's helped her. And I said, holy cow, girl, you are blowing me away right now, which she was. I was literally in tears reading her story. I mean, I was taking the time to read this and I was tearing up just reading this. She typed a lot, so I'm really not going to read it all. I said, you are such an inspiration, and I'm so glad your prayers were answered. And you and let's just call him Bob. You and Bob got the family you always wanted. I seriously teared up reading your story. What's your plan for after surgery besides healing? She had mentioned in one of those previous posts that she tagged me in, she has gained a lot of weight. So I said, hey, what's your plan? She said she's had depression. She ended up telling me how much weight she gained, how she loves barbecue, because she's a barbecue snob, and she grew up in the South. So like they're very big with that. And I said, and then she mentioned she has her own business. So again, I didn't mention the weight. I have not mentioned at all anything about what I do. I'm just asking her questions about her family, her faith. She mentioned a lot about faith and how she feels like her prayers were answered with her 2 daughters. So I said, what business do you have? She said, I do at-home administration and I have my own cleaning business. And then I said, so then I ended up addressing the weight. I said, I feel you on that one. I was in my mid 200s when I began my journey, and it was tough to step on that scale and see what I had let happen to myself. It's hard, but so good that you have a plan. And I know that you will inspire so many women. I agree starting to clear your house of the junk. And I said, I love barbecues too, but I'm not the snob status like you, I don't think. But there are so many healthy ways to barbecue. I can send you some recipes. So I'm adding value to her life. And I have not mentioned one thing about anything else. I haven't even mentioned exercise. I can send you some recipes. Walking has been proven to be one of the best forms of exercise and a great way to start while you're healing. And I said, what kind of exercise have you enjoyed in the past? And I listed some options. She said, I would love those recipes. I'm always looking for good recipes. She listed what type of stuff she likes. She said, I'm too overweight right now. Things are really killing me. And I said, walking is great, one step at a time. You're also going to be in a lot of pain, depending on how this surgery goes. And, so we kind of just went back and forth again. So then where did I say my invite? Hold on, let me find it, guys, because I want to really tell you. I said I would give yourself that time to relax and prepare for an amazing 2017 because you won't be in pain anymore. She's been in a severe amount of pain since she was 12. I said, all you have to do is want to change, have a deep reason why, and a plan of action. And she talked about she's, very equipped to endure pretty much any pain. And I said, I love that you're OCD about your house, because she shared on her profile how she was, again, I looked through her profile. I got to know her as I was talking to her, so I'm getting to know her. I'm forming a trusting relationship. And I said, I love, because her new post was about before this surgery, cleaning her entire house to make it easy for any member of her family to help her if she needs anything while she's laid up. And she said, I have OCD. And I said, I have OCD too. I totally feel you on that. And I said, believe me, like I would do the exact same thing. And then I said, just so you know, I'm starting a new virtual fitness health accountability group. I do one every month at the beginning of December. I do one every month in parentheses at the beginning of December. We have a lot of fun and do contests for prizes while doing our in-home workouts as a team. If you're in need of some motivation, support, and accountability to get back on track with your health and fitness, I would love to help you. She said, that would be great. I'd love to join. I said, I would love to have you and help you reach your goals. And I don't want to push her because I know she's having surgery next week, and it's not my priority to make Success Club this month. It's my priority to help her in the long run. I said, I know this week and next week are super busy, and I want to talk about it maybe by phone after your surgery. I know you have a lot going on, so I understand if you want to talk about joining later. She said, yeah, let me see how I'm doing 2 weeks after the surgery, and then I'll get back in touch. And I said, of course, but please keep in touch through this week and next. I want to know how you're doing next week after your surgery Tuesday. So Wednesday evening, I have in my schedule to follow up with her and say, how was your surgery? How are you feeling? And then I'll also probably add in, if you're too tired to, respond whenever you have a chance, I just wanted to check in and let you know I was thinking about you. That's it. So, I know that in maybe a month, depending on how her surgery is going and how she's healing, I'm going to bring it back up again, or who knows, I'll bring it up January, February. The point is, she's now on my list. I have a connection with her. I'm going to follow up with her on that invite. But do you see how I mentioned it? I knew all of her goals. I pretty much know what program I want her to do to start out, like that I think would be really great for her. So I already have an idea of how I want to help her reach her goals, because she's going to feel, now that she's out of pain, like she's going to really want that, because she said she's gained over 150 pounds. So that's a lot of weight. And I know that she's going to be in pain. Her joints are going to hurt working out again, so I want to be there for her. But more importantly, I want to be there for her emotionally as a friend through her surgery. So that's how the whole conversation started. I, and send that friend request. I read one of her newest posts about her stuff. I commented. Then she tagged me in those photos. I read all of that. And believe me, these messages were long. I mean, like I scrolled for a long time reading all of this. She typed a lot. But it was great. And not everyone's always that forthcoming with information. So those people you have to be even more patient with. Or maybe you give a little bit of yourself first. You open up first before they do, so that you make that connection and that trust. So that's why. So when I watched this video from Jessica and I was making notes about this, it reminded me, I do remember reading about that. And I think it would be a great thing for us to adopt. And I'm going to load those photos up. But I wanted to share with you guys this conversation about how I connected with her. So I wanted to open up the conversation, because I know we always do around Robin, and I don't like to just be the only one talking, and I also tend to talk fast. So I think I flew through that. So I'm really sorry if people are trying to take notes, and I can show you guys those pictures again. But again, I'm just going to load them in our group. But yeah, does anybody have anything to say or add to that, or want to share their own conversation of someone that they got to know and properly embedded a good invite where, and even if it was a no, even if someone said, no, thanks, I wanted to share with you guys how I connected with her and how I'm going to continue to connect with her over the next month, 2 months, whatever, and how I can help her. So does anybody have any questions, comments? Most people are muted. Okay. So, well then I guess we can end our call early, because yeah, I know I talk really fast. Darla, I did share in the beginning. I don't know if you caught all of it or when you jumped on. so I shared that, well, I said a leader in Synergy. I didn't say your name, but I just called you out, didn't I? That we were talking about, that we were just talking about personal development, and, there can be such thing as too much in a day, too much in a week, where you can't, implement everything at once, because it's impossible. So focusing on one topic and, what you're going to implement from each chapter. So Darla and I are starting Miracle Morning together, and we're going to talk about, after each chapter, from that chapter, what are we going to implement this week, with our pages, or what are we going to implement this week with our coaches, or our Miracle Morning, creating our Miracle Morning. So I would love to hear what personal development everybody's doing, and what you're doing to set those good habits to implement things from from those trainings that you're reading. So because Pam, you're already unmuted, I'm just going to call you out first.
Right now I'm reading the book Greater by Stephen. I have no idea how you say his last name. But it's a faith-based book. It is, it's something that, my team spirit team, it was in their list of, books to get. And it was the first one that I got, and, I absolutely love it. And so what I decided I'm doing is I have sunrise pictures and pictures that I've snapped, outside or wherever. And I've taken a few off of Google, but whenever there's a statement or something that just jumps out, I'm just making it into a post. I take that quote, put it on top of the picture, and then I've got it. And so I can take that post and then just plop it up at least once a day is what I'd like to do. And it's a really good book. But I'm like y'all, you can watch all the personal development, and you can watch all the YouTubes and the team calls, and you can't implement all that. I mean, you just got to pick and choose, because otherwise a whole lot, but you're not doing a whole lot. So
Yeah. And similarly to someone, when we invite someone to like a challenge group, for example, or the coaching opportunity, you have to hear it 7 times before they say yes. I think that's similar when someone is learning when you're in school. You have to hear something multiple times. So sometimes I'll listen to a training and I won't have the intention of taking any notes, and I'm just listening to absorb. And then when I have the time, to sit and watch it again, and then I take notes. So I heard it first and I just enjoyed listening to it, and I felt inspired, and I was like, oh, that's such a great takeaway. Oh my gosh. And of course I can't possibly write all of that down, especially if I'm like out with my horse listening to this. And then I go home and I watch it again. So I'm hearing it at least twice, which is why I'm reading the book Miracle Morning and I'm listening to it on Audible. So yeah, and I think focusing on one book, for example, and then and doing trainings is plenty. You know what I mean? Like focusing on that book to implement, and then adding some trainings in, whether it's with my team or a Push to Diamond group, or something I'm finding on someone's page that I'm following. That's enough. And I think that's enough to implement and still move forward at a pretty good pace, I think. Angela, want to share what you actually, because you and Valency could do it together. You two want to share what you guys are doing?
Sure. We're reading The Compound Effect, and we actually do a phone conversation every week to keep ourselves accountable. I forget which chapter I just finished, but it was the one on motivation, and I actually created a binder with all the Valency, look, I started doing them. All right. Printed out all the free worksheets from online. That was our goal for this next week, is to do them for up to the chapter that we're at. So yeah,
that's awesome. And there's so many resources.
It comes with worksheets, and I like that. It kind of like it invites you to actually interact with it, as opposed to just passively going, oh yeah, those are good ideas, and they kind of slide off you. I think you absorb them a lot more when you're forced to actually think about things and work through stuff and be honest with yourself, because we're all we all still have our areas. I can guarantee it, every single one of us.
Yep.
Like to be perfectly honest, half the time, I mean, we do our job and we talk about, the book that we're supposed to be making the phone call about, but Angela and I also are becoming very good friends and just having a great time, commiserating over husbands and just, life, which is wonderful. And I really, I mean, I struggle with getting through personal development books that are dry, and to me this is kind of a dry book, so she's helping to bring some laughter and levity to it. So yeah, if you don't have a personal development accountability partner, I strongly suggest it, because it's helping me get through it in a much more enjoyable fashion and more effective.
Mm-hmm.
I know that is so fabulous. And, and part of it is, you don't even have to make your calls all about business, like
Yeah.
it makes me so happy to hear that, Angela and Valency are also, I hope there aren't kids around, like shooting the shit, like it makes me like happy to hear that, because that is what creates the fun, close knit team that I want, that we all want. We want this community. I love all of you guys. And even though, no, I'm not Stephanie's personally sponsored coach, I introduced Stephanie to Angela when the three of us were on as my coach, because she is. I did her Emerald announcement. Brianne and I were texting. Brianne was going crazy in the texting. She was like, oh my God, my success partner. Oh my God. And we were all freaking out. And I was like, and then Pam was like, I was like, should I do an announcement in Synergy? And Pam was like, do it everywhere. And I was like, and I was like, yes. So, we are, and it doesn't matter if we're adopted or someone's my downline or whatever, it doesn't matter. And, we are a team, and that is the point. So yes, I totally encourage you guys, find someone that is going to read the same book as you, and that you guys check in every week. If you guys want to join, me and Darla, you're more than welcome to, or if you want to read something else, like reach out to somebody else, and hold each other accountable, and then talk and connect. So, Angela and Valency found out they have a lot in common, which I may have already known and knew that they would be perfect together. I may or may not have planned that from years of knowing both of them. But yeah, I'm really proud of that. I'm a good matchmaker. So yeah, if you guys don't have an accountability partner with your personal development, yes, we all have accountability in our challenge groups, but as coaches, I think we need more to whether it's to vent about something that has to do with coaching or our lives, or to vent about a topic that's going on in our personal development that maybe hit a little too close to home and we're pretty upset about it, like fired up, or like, oh my gosh, this is a lot, that this is an emotional book, and so, and talk to your personally sponsored, or talk to me about it, what kind of personal development to start with, or if you're getting bored with too many, cerebral personal development books, whether it's John C. Maxwell, which can get very cerebral, or Darren Hardy, which can also get very cerebral. If you need something more fun, I have a bunch of them, a list, and we have a list in Synergy under the files section. So go through that list, add more the more you read. So Angela found a couple of books that I've never heard of before that sound great. So I'm going to ask her to go into the files section of our group and edit the file. I know she's writing that down right now. And edit the file and write them in under the topic, so that we can share what's going on, and post in our group what personal development you're doing, so that someone can say, hey, I want to read that too. It's like, all right, let's do it together. Let's do it. So, I love that. Okay, Stephanie, you're up next. What are you reading and doing? And you haven't been on in forever, so you got to talk a lot.
No. Currently, I kind of slack horribly at it, and I need to get back on it. But like I said earlier, I'm gaining balance. So I have 2 books sitting on the bookshelf waiting for me to put my kids to bed, which I got to do here right away. But I got Jab, Jab, Right Hook, and I got Girl Code. So they're kind of a toss-up. I think I might just throw them in the air, and which one I catch is the one I'm going to read. Other than that, I am yeah, I'm just working on balance and running with my coaches instead of, I set up my team page yesterday, or maybe it was yesterday, when I came to Emerald, because I realized that I can't just leave my coaches hang in the balance like I was before I found all you lovely ladies. So I, instead of just posting everything to run your business, I'm starting from the basics, and I'm actually doing the 21-day strong start coaching thing right on my team page with everybody. So if they want to participate, great. If not, the information's going to be there shoved in their faces every day. And that's all I'm doing. And Core de Force, because I love it, and I plan doing it for 60 days.
Oh yeah, and Stephanie has been known to have some really awesome before after photos, like 21 Day Fix Extreme. So go to her page if you want to use that to share, and because she has said it's okay before to share. It's amazing. And so I'm excited to see everyone's results for Core de Force and every program, but because Core de Force is the new one, the new shiny
I gotta
one.
say, I am really digging Stephanie's action shots. They're like total girl power.
I should like point out the muddy boots that are behind me tomorrow.
Yeah,
That's
right.
all like cow shit.
Oh yeah, I showered and blow dried my hair for this call. I was just at the barn for 2 hours. So exactly, like that's what I should post, is an action shot of me on my horse going.
And apparently,
And Stephanie too with the cows. What?
Apparently, if you have a dog in your lap, you get good reception too.
Hey Brianne, since you're already unmuted. Oh well, I'm gonna unmute you again. What are you reading right now? Oh crap, there we go.
Okay, so I have 2 chapters left because, like Valency, if it's really dense, I don't want to read it. But I really love to read, so I have 3 books. I'm just finishing this one. It's called Life's Golden Ticket. It's Brendan Burchard, called A Story About Second Chances, and it's really, he's the author of, gosh, what's that, The Manifesto? Let me see. The
Motivation Manifesto.
Yeah, there you go, that one. And I have a Brené Brown book. I read books 3 at a time, so The Gifts of Perfection, like Darla said. And then I have coming tomorrow, I Thought It Was Just Me from Brené Brown. And coming Saturday, the book that Pam said, Greater. So, yeah, I like to read.
So put those books in the file section of the group, because I would love to be able to, read them myself.
They're good ones. Darla has some good, if you ever want to know a good PD book, ask Darla.
Well, Darla needs to edit the entire file in Synergy.
And they all have good ideas. So it's pretty much just working on letting go. It's called Let Go of Who You Think You're Supposed to Be and Embrace Who You Are, or Guide to a Wholehearted Life. And she talks about some pretty hitting home stuff about being authentic. And I'm just working personally on my conversations of how to change from forming, and then after I form them, to get them into a challenge group or a coach.
Awesome. Darla?
Yes.
Would you like to talk? I guess I kind of spoke for both of us about our personal development book, but
You spoke for me. Hey, real quick, Brianne, that Let Go of Who You're Supposed to Be, who is that by? Did she go away?
No, she's looking, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Let go of what?
You said that, what did you say when you said let go of who you're supposed to be? Was that the name of the book, or were you talking about the book?
No, that's what it says on the cover. It's Brené.
Of
The Gifts of Imperfection. That's the book.
Oh, okay.
So Brianne, would you put that title with the author in the file section?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I would love to continue to have that. And again, so for people that maybe don't have an accountability partner yet with a book, like Pam, Brianne, Stephanie, I would love if you would either find someone that wants to read one of those books with you, because since for example, since Brianne reads so much, she'll clearly be a great accountability partner because she's going to read. If some people need a little more of a nudge, then that would be a good person to pair with, because Brienne already naturally does that. So, it would be great if everybody paired up to help continue to push each other forward, So, Pam, whichever, or, well, Stephanie's not here, so I guess talking to her would be pointless. But for Stephanie, whichever book she wants to read, post that in Synergy and say, I have to read I'm going to read either this book or this book. Who wants to join me in one of them? And that could be her decision maker. Who wants to read Girl Code? Oh, okay, someone does want to read that. Then that's what I'll read with you. So I think that would be a great idea. So, I guess I did already speak for Darla and I, but yeah, we're reading Miracle Morning, and we are getting the workbooks with it to like make notes. She doesn't know that, but she'll be getting it in the mail. So we are, so yeah, that's what we're doing. And, taking the right steps to implement what we're reading. So we kind of made a plan about, that how we want to implement them. Were you raising your hand, Darla? Okay, go on.
It's like,
I thought you were just
stretching. We can jump. We can go stop. Yeah. No, the Life's Golden Ticket. If you guys do a Google search, Brendon Burchard is like one of my favorite guru go-to guys, him and Tony Robbins. If you Google Life's Golden Ticket, you can probably still find the deal he's got going on. So basically, I think you pay $6 and change, $5-6 and change, and you get the book for free. And then the Motivation Manifesto, the same deal with that. And you get, and then you get, with Motivation Manifesto, you get, I think it's 5 weeks, and I've never gone through that course. It's saved in all my emails. But you get like 5 weeks where he kind of breaks down the book into chapters and kind of asks you questions and asks you to put your own spin on things. And the same thing with Life's Golden Ticket. So for $10-15, you can get like 3 of his books. And he is really good about giving them away. And especially, I know Life's Golden Ticket, and I think Motivation Manifesto, I want to say Random House had him, and they dropped him and told him that Motivation Manifesto was not going to be a hit, was not going to do good. And Hay House picked him up. And I think Motivation Manifesto has been on the New York Times bestseller list now for 2 years. And so whoever had him, whatever press had him, screwed up. He actually said in a podcast, which I can't find it anymore, he may delete it, that he was advanced something like $3 million to do Motivation Manifesto. And he said for some reason he took that money and set it aside in an account and never touched it and kind of lived off what he was already making. And, the residuals are coming in from his other books. And they said, well, whatever press had him and said that they wanted him to change the book. And he said, I can't, because this is the book I have to write. They asked for the money back. So they were going to take him to court and sue him. And he said he was able to take that money right out of that account and give it to him. And he said he took a chance. And I think he said he paid for a couple 100,000 copies wholesale of the Life's Golden Ticket and Motivation to do these promotions for it. Tony Robbins also, Awaken the Giant Within is a good one. It's really good to listen on Amazon. No, excuse me, through Audible, because you can hear the you can hear the passion in his voice. When he talks about it, and it's probably, I want to say, Awaken the Giant Within is maybe a 5-hour book, because I picked somebody up at the airport.
It's really short, but it's a fantastic Audible, because Tony Robbins.
He's a phenomenal speaker.
He speaks himself in Awaken the Giant Within, and it's a 23. Remaining. How do I find out how much is left? It's really not that long, and time flies when you're listening to this stuff. It really does. So,
now, I listened to 3 chapters of the Miracle Morning for Networkers. I was like, dry. Did I like toast? I was like, not going to enjoy this book. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like 3.5 going 4 chapters in the book. And, I kept hitting, the little clip on Audible over and over and over again. And so many things, I told Catherine, so many things already start kicking in. And I'm like, okay, I really like this book. And then the other new one, I threw my pen and can't write it down. The other new one is the Ask Gary V. Gary Vaynerchuk's newest
Gary
one.
Vaynerchuk is the author of Jab, Jab, Right Hook, which is a great book to read. So if anyone is interested in that book, I suggest that you reach out to Stephanie, create that connection, and hold each other accountable for that one, because that's a great book. Yeah, that is a fantastic, by the way, it's an 1.5 hour long Audible.
What?
Awaken.
Yeah, it's like 2 hours, because I picked somebody up at an airport and it was a 2-hour drive and it was done.
Yeah.
So, but now ask Gary V. I want to say it's 11 hours. So if you got like a long ass drive to go someplace,
Angela does.
You can probably get through it.
Awesome. Well, does anybody have any more comments, last minute, something or other? Stephanie missed it, but I encourage everybody, Stephanie, to find an accountability partner for whatever book you want to read, because it's fun. It's a good way to stay connected and stay motivated to move forward with that, if you want. So anybody else, any last questions, comments?
Real quick, I was going to tell you there's that movie, I Am Your Guru by Tony Robbins. It's on Netflix. It is a little long, but it's really good and it's worth watching. And also, he has a conference coming up. I was going to go, but I just can't afford it right before Christmas. It's December 1st through the 4th, and you can stream his, I know Jamie Messina just went to one of his things in San Jose.
San Jose.
Yeah. But this one's in Vegas. Anyway, and you can stream it live and still watch it.
Oh, awesome.
Colleen said that she made a post on Facebook today, said that she was on a network marketers, I guess, conference, and she said, I'm here with Brendan Burchard and Tony Robbins and I think Grant Cardone and Roger Love and I think Bo Eason and her. And I'm like, can you imagine that conference? I mean, like, just drop the mic. You wouldn't have enough notebooks.
There's an Eric Worre one coming up in March that I want to try and go to.
Ooh, that's a good one. Ooh, Brianne, are you registered to take the certification class December 10th with me?
I'm doing it. Sorry, I cannot.
Unacceptable.
Unless I win the lottery.
That's okay. Okay, well, if everybody's good, then it was lovely seeing you guys. And I can't wait to see you guys next week and talk. Oh, one more thing. If someone wants, I have been observing and studying some of the top coaches' posting styles recently. And if anybody wants to have a phone conference with me and wants to know my opinion of their page, I know that sounds really full of myself, but help give feedback, because I've been watching religious split-based coaches a lot. I've been watching, different coaches and how they post. If anybody wants feedback about their page or, anything like that, I am totally open to doing that. I would love to. So I just wanted to put that out there for anybody. Only because I've been studying other coaches. It's not because I have any vast knowledge or, powers to do so.
And the reason I laugh is not because of what Catherine says, because Catherine decided to go through my page when I'm like driving through Atlanta, and she's like, let me tell you about your page. And I'm like, let me explain something, Lucy.
I itemized everything in an email to you as we were speaking. It was a long email.
You did. And you're like, what do you have to say? And I'm like, I can't text and drive and talk at the same time.
So yeah, if anybody wants that, I'm totally willing to do that. So anyway, I hope you guys are having a great evening, and we will talk later. Bye.